I just want to preface this by saying I was excited for Sonic Frontiers. Between Iizuka saying that this would be the change-up-like adventure, to that initial reveal showing off the world, it felt like Sonic Team was actually putting a big budget in Sonic again. And I guess I had hope that they had it this time. I mean, they had to have learned their lessons after Forces, right? Now, I just want to go ahead and say this. If you are excited for the game, be sure to still be excited for the game. This isn't meant to diminish anyone's, hopes or anything. This is just me saying, I have an issue with this. I'm not okay with it. And I think the bar for me needs to be raised. I just don't think this is acceptable. So of course I'm talking about the Sonic Frontiers gameplay reveal, which partially the blame is to go on the actual gameplay, which was pretty aimless. It was literally just Sonic walking around the world for like 7 minutes straight with no objectives, and it just felt aimless. Sonic's movement was just really strange and odd, but you know what? Let's just go down the list of like issues that I think really hurt this game. There is pop-in like everywhere, like all over the place. There's springs that randomly appear. There's even rails, like when Sonic turns the statue and then a rail appears, the rail just pops into existence. It doesn't, there's no effect, there's nothing. Things are constantly just spawning into the world, and the pop-in is just, it's horrendous. Like, there's a lot of it all over the 7 minutes of gameplay that we saw, and that is actually something that they can fix for release, but I'm gonna treat this as this is what we're getting. This is exactly what we're getting. And before I get people saying, it's not the final product, don't worry, it'll be fixed by the time the game... No, it's not. We said this with Forces. It doesn't do us any favors to make excuses like this. There's none. This isn't a beta, this isn't an alpha. This was chosen to be shown to show gameplay for the very first time in a game that releases within the next 6 months. This should be treated as final, and you should treat it as such so that you can critique and criticize it in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, it can be fixed. And boy, I wish the pop-in was the only issue with the gameplay from yesterday. Sonic's animations in general just, they look really stiff. Like, Sonic doesn't look like he moves with any fluidity, and that's partially because, literally all the animations are taken from Forces, which in a AAA game that's supposed to be Sonic's new generation, and Sonic is finally making a big leap that'll make a big shakeup, like the adventure games, reusing animations from a game that was poorly received, not exactly a good look. And that's not even the only issue. Sonic's entire model looks like it clashes with the world design. This is why I think Sonic needed a different model in general. Why are we using Forces animations and model? I don't understand that. This was 5 years in the making. What excuse is there to not build up more stuff? You're telling me that after all these years we still don't have dedicated animators that are working on Sonic's model? Because can you please name me a AAA open world game that doesn't have dedicated animations for its main character? In fact, not even just talking open world. I could list, for example, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. That game looked gorgeous, had great animations for all the characters. They felt alive in the world, and it doesn't feel like Sonic is alive in this world. I mean, yes, he has an idle animation this time, whoopee. That's not enough. It shouldn't be enough. Even his trick animations, like, what is the excuse for this versus what we got in Generations? Like, this comparison just highlighted to me the amount of laziness that is at play here. You know what? Maybe it's not laziness. Maybe it's the higher-ups that aren't giving Sonic Team enough of a budget. I don't know what it is, but it needs to change. And of course I'm going to get the comments that are like, oh, Warner, you're just nitpicking. See, the thing is that with nitpicks, you know what's funny? Is that people will be like, you're nitpicking when you're literally just listing out things that are legitimate problems with the game. If animations are nitpicks, if pop-in is nitpicks, if the actual gameplay is nitpicks, then you can't say anything's wrong with the game, because everything is a nitpick. So you're saying that this game is a flawless masterpiece that has no issues whatsoever, and is perfect the way it is? I just don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I can't. Which, by the way, I'm going to get into another big issue I have with this game. This game has way too many rails and dash panels in places that are completely unnecessary to have them. It feels like Forces Syndrome, where it's forcing you to automate yourself to a path so that the control isn't so obviously bad for you. Now, I can't really speak on the control because I haven't played the game myself, but there's a lot of rails and dash panels in places where otherwise you could literally just walk and turn. There's no purpose for it. It's just there to automate you, and you're not doing anything. You're engaging in those segments. Rails literally take you up. Like, I know this has been a thing in Modern Sonic for a while, but rails literally take you up. There is no momentum to them. They just take you up. They're automated, and they go on a set path, and you do nothing while you're on it. Why couldn't the rails be like Adventure, where you have to actually balance yourself on the rails to go faster, because then you'd actually be engaging with it. The abundance of rails and dash panels and springs everywhere make it feel so automated, and it takes so much control away from the character, which in an open world game is absolutely awful to even think about doing. What makes it even worse is the fact that all of these things clash with the entire world. Springs, rails, they literally just float in the air. Platform. Why not actually implement it so that these things actually fit with the level aesthetic? Why not make ruins instead of these floating platforms? Why not make buildings that you could scale up? Instead of rails just floating in the air, why don't you just make vines? You know, like Sonic 06 did over 15 years ago. Instead, it just feels like a world is there, and then they just plopped a bunch of Forces assets in it. And don't get me wrong at all, the world is pretty. It really is pretty. I commend the game for that. The world is nice. But you need to lean into that aesthetic way more. They just gotta. Why don't you put lore in the backgrounds like they used to do in the classic games? Put stuff on the wall. Let me piece together what this world was. Make it feel inhabited. There needs to be more nature, more things around. Make the world feel more alive and engaging. And you know what's even funnier? The platforms, the bridges, are Forces assets too. Why are we still using Forces assets for a AAA open world game? Even in the Forces, when it was first releasing, I was like, this is gonna be great. And every time there was a red flag that popped up, I was like, you know what, it's fine, they'll fix it later, or this is just early. And I would do the same thing, and I'd make the same mistake, and I'm not doing it this time because it doesn't help anyone. And I don't want to feel this way about this game because I was so excited for it. I thought that this is going to be a great game. Who knows? It still could be. There's still the possibility. But I cannot rule out what I saw. And what I saw was not good. It just wasn't good. 5 years. 5 whole years of development time, and we are still using Forces assets. We're still using Forces animation. We still have the same model. Everything from Forces is still here. And after 5 years, you can't sit there and tell me that that is okay. But I was thinking to myself, and when I was watching that gameplay for the first time, it dawned on me. And for the first time ever, as a Sonic fan, I felt betrayed. I felt heartbroken. And some people might think that that's an over-exaggeration, but I don't care. The way that I felt watching that crushed my soul, because I had completely believed that this was going to be a fresh start. But how are you going to make a fresh start if you're still making the exact same mistakes from 5 years ago? How do you expect people to have confidence in your product when you haven't proven that you can be taken seriously? But when I was really down And I kept thinking about all the things that I had saw and how upsetting it was. I sat there and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not too late. Maybe, just maybe, if enough people voice their concerns, and I implore you to please voice your concerns now before it is too late to do so. If it needs to be done, delay the game by a year. Overhaul it a little bit. Change the course of this before we end up with another game so that people can be like, oh, look at Sonic! Another 3D disaster! I don't want to see that again. I don't, man. It's not fun. It's just not. After being burned again and again, I just want to see change. I want to see a game that is well done, that proves that Sonic can be taken seriously in all facets of his media. He's killing it at the movies. He's got a good-looking TV show on the way. He's got a collection on the way. So if the one thing that ends up being not good is the game, the main component, the big thing of Sonic, it's gonna be a disaster. So again, I implore everyone, I implore the entire Sonic community, everyone who sees this video, please voice your concerns now. And if more gameplay comes out and it still doesn't look up to snuff, please, 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 I'm begging you, campaign for a delay. We have to push for quality in these games, because if we don't, nothing is ever going to change. If we keep making excuses, they'll fix it later. It's an early build. Things will never change, and we'll be stuck in this cycle forever. I don't even know what else to say. To everyone again who's excited, I hope the game impresses you. And you know what? I hope the game still has something that's holding under its sleeves that'll hook me, that'll make me be like, you know what? I was wrong. There's a good game here. And I'm still a little bit hoping that that's possible. But as of right now, Sonic Frontiers, I hope the best for you. I only hope things get better from here. Only time will tell.